Welcome to Season 2 of Unspoken Truth. This will be a journey of self-discovery, healing, and bringing out the best version of ourselves and learning the art of being unapologetic, secure in who we are, and loving ourselves first before we love others, knowing when to choose ourselves and letting go of what doesn't serve us. Join me on this journey of discovering unspoken truths and changing the narrative. This is from a woman who's just like you, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and God's child, and in everything else in between. I am still an individual riding the waves of life. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. If a woman is harassed, it is because she asked for it, she dressed for it, she walked for it, she spoke for it. I would like to challenge that. Fatima Muhammad. This episode is by a woman for women, though in some episodes I urge you to listen with your partners, especially this episode. Make a cup of tea, sit back, and let's talk about the origin of abuse. This is for all of us. Dear you, why are women victims? Does anyone have the right answers to this question? Will we ever get the right answers to this question? I want us to go down a little road of what I would like to believe is the origin of why women suffer in the hands of men. I am spiritual and no longer stand with religion, as religion has shown to be the critical point that puts women in unfair positions. There are about 100 Bible verses that address women to submit to men, and this has been a foundation in our cultures, tradition, and in society. Women are held lesser than men. Let me read a couple of verses from both the Old Testament and New Testament. In 1 Timothy 2 verse 12 reads as, I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. Genesis 3 verse 16 reads as, to the woman he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In your pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you. 1 Peter 3 verse 7 reads as, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the women as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. It is from such verses where we can see for the longest of time we have never been seen as equals. It's like the system was only built on patriarchal foundation. On the last verse, it reads as, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to your women as the weaker vessel. The issue I have in this verse is the words weaker vessel. So let's dive into this episode, into this topic. I have Brian M. as my co-host. Hi, Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Nita.
Thank you for joining me. Before we dive into the topic, can you tell my listeners who you are and a little about your podcast?
Oh, geez. The tell us about who you are question, right? Always lovely to answer that one. Okay, so I'm Brian M. The M is my surname, which is Mukwena. Look, I'm a chubby teddy bear, right? As I'm referred to by my partner.
Yes.
A former high school rugby player who went on to study politics, but really dreamt of studying psychology. Right, I've always loved speaking to people, trying to solve people's issues. Still love that. So I've not fulfilled my dream to study psychology yet. From politics, I ended up a salesperson at one of these IT companies. Okay. Yes, politics to IT, right?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah. But I think over the last 3 years of working, I've actually realized that I'm a bit passionate, more so than the IT in being a contributor in the creative industry. I think that's where my head is at right now. Mm-hmm. Hence, I started my podcast called Brian M Presents, a podcast just for you. So the whole idea around that was for me to share a lot of insight that I have. Just share any form of information from people within my circle, people outside of my circle. I mean, the conversations that we're having now, when you and I have our own session, I'll take whatever insight that I get from you and share that with my people.
Yes.
So it's just to empower people, because I think we live in an information age, but people still don't get the relevant information. So I think that's why I started my podcast, and I'm just hoping to share as much insight as I possibly can on my podcast and when collaborating with the likes of you, Nita.
Yes, that's great. That's really great. So I think we had a little discussion within the week on the topic, but like we said, it's unprepared. It's not scripted. We are just going to dive in. So this episode is called Why Are Women Victims? So we'll use this title as an umbrella to tackle different topics within the title itself. I've structured today's episode into 4 topics, which is foundation. And when I say foundation, I mean the biblical outlook of men and women. Okay. The second one is treatment in marriages and relationships. And the third one is corporate inequality or injustices. And the fourth one is gender-based violence. Okay. So you've heard all the 4 topics. So we're just going to start with obviously foundation, and we tackle that like between each other, what we think. And then we just go down the list and see how that goes.
Cool. Yeah. No, I'm ready. Look, it is the first time that I actually hear what we're talking about right here. So look, I'm more excited now that I know what's on the conversational menu. Yes. Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
No, look, I think it's a great topic. Do you want to get into it, or should I just shoot?
I say I'll get into it a little bit. Okay.
Cool.
Then you'll jump in. So when I said foundation, I said biblical, right? So I went and looked at how many verses does the Bible have where women are mentioned less than men, right? When I say less than, that means where women are told to submit, where we are told to remain quiet, where we are told that we are weaker vessels. So there's almost about 100 verses in the Bible that says women are weak, remain quiet, and they are weaker vessels. And this is between the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? So the reason I said it's a foundation, I feel like for years, or let's go back to how we were all raised by our parents or our grandparents, we were all guided, our values and our beliefs were through the church. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe that our grandfathers, therefore, even if they had their own families, it just filtered down. So everything they learned from the church, they then made sure that it reigned supreme in their household. Okay. So I'm not saying everybody's household men were the ones who were the stronger ones. I don't know people's households, but I just feel like personally, this is where it all began. This is where the beginning of women being treated less than started. What's your take on that?
So, Nita, I think the one thing that you'll probably learn about me today, or rather now, is the fact that I am atheist. So I don't fully believe in the Bible,
or the
but However, there are instances where I've actually just observed behaviors from people who are guided by the scripture and the Bible. I think you are spot on in terms of how our foundation is based from the Bible. And I speak from me being a black man growing up in a family where, religion is most common and famous with the black people. And I think that's just an old thing. I can't explain in detail as to what led to that being the case. However, I think biologically, men are stronger than women. I think that's probably where it starts. And the guidance from the Bible then just made it easy to justify exactly that.
Patriarchy.
Yes, right. So it was all justified. Is it wrong? I think it is. But me, as a young boy growing up, I was given so much love, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was given so much love. For me, I think the treatment of me versus my sister was a bit different. I think I got off a bit easy with a lot of things because I guess I'm a boy and I can't do much wrong.
Yes.
But for my sister, she had to be guided to become a saint. She had to be guided to become clean, a flower.
Yes.
And that's why I think they refer to a woman as a flower, and that flower can't be tainted, right? So that led to a lady can't do anything, absolutely nothing of a sin nature. She needs to obey. She needs to respect, and that's why I think if a young lady comes out and says, "Listen, I've been harassed," no one tends to believe because it's stuff that should not be happening. It's stuff that, what did you do to be harassed? Right? Because you're the flower. If you do nothing wrong as a flower, nothing will be done unto you. So you must have done something to be deflowered.
Yes.
Right. So I think you are spot on when you refer to the foundation being guided by that. And I think the learnings. Yeah.
So maybe I also feel like not so much maybe of the scriptures, but I feel like religion reigns supreme to spirituality. Okay. And by me saying that, religion was just structure, okay, to put people in a specific way. It's laws and rules, right? The way you did politics. So for people to be governable, there must be rules and laws, whatever. I'm a law student, I know that. So it's a matter of governing people to act a specific way. And I feel like that's exactly what happened when they started using the Bible. They took the scriptures, and they started putting it in religion by trying to govern women, to govern women and children. Because if I don't know, you said you atheist now, but I don't know if you ever went to the church. But back in the day, I remember going to the church. Most women had to sit behind the men, or they had to sit down. They were not entitled to have a chair in the church, because men were only the ones perceived to be the ones that could have a specific structure, And I feel like that became a mark in our DNA. We grew up seeing such things. Our parents grew up seeing such things. And like you're saying, women are perceived as these flowers, fragile, they can be broken. Okay. And and I feel like it just went through bloodline to bloodline to bloodline. And it just got so lost in everything that personally I feel like the Bible or the scriptures created the nightmare that we're in now. That's my take. Maybe people who are listening will be like, no, I don't think so. But I feel like it's like any other thing, right, in life. When the foundation is laid, your structure stands firm. And I feel like that's why it's been an ongoing issue when it came to, how women are being treated. Right.
Yeah.
And it goes to that second topic where I said treatment of marriages and relationships, how women are treated within a relationship, how women are treated within a marriage. And I feel like
in that formal foundation, as it filters down, women haven't had a voice over thousands of years. And when we started speaking out, then it became, it's the feminists again. They've started. They're too loud. They're making it seem as if it's only supposed to be about women, And it's not that. I feel like it just, from that foundation, the treatment started being a consistent, how can I put it, a template on how women are supposed to be treated. You can beg to differ there if you want, but I feel like the reason why women are treated badly in marriages and relationships is because of that foundation that I'm speaking about. What's your take?
So I agree with most of what you're saying, right? However, there's a different view, that says women had it easy, right? From foundation. I mean, it's in the second episode of my podcast, the Red Pill Theory, that the men had it harder than women, right? Society has devalued the life of a man, right? And I think it starts from when you are young. As much as I say, I grew up being treated like a hero, but I think it then comes back to the fact that maybe that's the setup, right? And I think back in the day, men were molded to become soldiers. Men were molded to become protectors, right? So men had to sacrifice their lives to protect the women, right? And that's the view of the Red Pill movement. And all that the lady had to do was stay home, feel safe, and ensure that everything in the house is going accordingly.
Yeah.
Right. Men are seen to be celebrated after they die. Right. And that's why you have these statues of men only after they die from war or any other sort of, death that perceives them as heroes. So as much as women are victims, I think we need to also look at the harsh social expectations of men, right? To kind of go, is it extremely harsh, right? From a foundational point of view. And I'm not even getting into GBV at this point because that's a different, that's a way different conversation, right? But I think, so societal obligations, I think women had it rough, but had it rough by means of not having a voice and not being able to say exactly how they feel. But also men had it extremely rough because they had the voice, but also their life had no value.
When you say their lives had no value in the sense that they had to leave to protect and provide, are you referring to that, for it not to have value?
Yes, ultimately. The role of a man was to protect, to lead and protect, right? And because of that means when anything bad happens, you lead, you are up front, you sacrifice your life to ensure that the one behind you is safe, right? And that's why men were leading in the wars and women were not in the wars back in the day. Yeah, now things are changing a bit, and women are also part of the military. Yes. But again, I think we need to look at.
I like how you actually then went back to that, because as much as men were groomed to be these specific type of people, they could have done the same thing to women. And that's where we always say that we are not treated equally, or the treatment is different. Because whoever then thought men should be this specific structure should have said all human beings should be this specific structure. Because you do, like you're saying, there are women now in the military because they couldn't be in the military back in the days. If you go back into American, you did politics, you go back into American history, people like what's her name? Harriet Tubman. She led slaves out of slavery and stuff. And she had the capacity. She didn't have the strength, biological strength, as you mentioned it, of a man, but she was able to free people from slavery. That's where I think a lot of the conversations are being misunderstood, in the sense of we understand the unfairness of you were given the burden, but whoever then gave men the burden should have gave everybody the burden. Because you can't just say a man will be this type of person and a woman can't be that type of person. Because even back in the day, I believe women could have stood and fought and also became the statues we see in the streets. And I feel like that's where the inequality is.
So look, I agree with what you're saying, and here's the thing: I'm not feminism movement, but so I'm just more from an open mind conversationalist.
Mm-hmm. And also from a male perspective.
Yes. In a soccer team, you can't have 11 strikers. The end goal is to win by outscoring your opponents. But in a team, you can't have 11 strikers. You can't. Doesn't make sense because something will go wrong. If you've got 11 strikers, then it will be a game that never finishes by means of, it'll finish a draw rather, right? Yes. Because you score, I score, you score, I score, you score, I score. Because why? There is no defense, right? And I think that's just with everything. In a company has different divisions. The end goal is to make the company targets, right? But you can't have the whole company being salespeople, right? And these are just analogies to now highlight the point that in society, I don't see why it's necessary to have everyone do the same thing. Never mind the gender, right? Yes, you might come from a point and say, but hang on, why didn't women go to war? Did they have to go to war? No, they didn't. Maybe they didn't have to go to war.
Others wanted
maybe
to.
No, but you see, so I think we should probably steer away from making preference. And I mean, maybe not all women would have wanted to lift a gun and shoot. So maybe one person finds or a lady finds the idea of war cool, and says, no, but why didn't I do that? It's not to say you had to do it. Yes, we can look at a whole lot of other instances, right? I mean, if the argument is becoming a CEO of a company, then I can understand why women are not. I don't understand why they are not put in those positions without needing to justify themselves each day.
Yes,
that I can question. But in terms of war, they didn't have to go to war. They didn't, right? They played a different role to the better good of the team.
Yes.
Right? Men were stronger, women were less stronger, right? Women were smarter. And that's why women dealt a lot, my understanding, with logistics, with outsmarting people, right? And that was their contribution to the team. It's not an individual sport. So I think if you look at it in terms of women should have, then I think you're looking at it from an individualistic point instead of a team point. That's my view.
Okay. Okay. I mean, you went as far as bringing, describing it using a soccer team. You are seriously a real man. Okay. I don't know if my women will understand the difference between strikers and defenders and, but I guess they'll have to figure it out. It's the age of Google. They'll figure it out. And I hear what she's saying. I really hear what she's saying. And For me, I guess I'm always going to beg to differ in the sense that I just always feel like were always given the tasks, the tiresome tasks, in the sense of have the children, make a house, take care and nurture your husband. And it's the same thing that's just happening now, where some women are just in this position of being voiceless in their marriages or in their relationships, having to take care of the household, take care of their husband, do house management, if we put it that way, and it's an ongoing thing where you find men who don't want their wives to work. And it takes me to a couple of weeks ago, we had a fired conversation in our home because my brothers were saying, but women also have privilege. Oh, that topic got fired in this house. I mean, what was left was us literally banging doors. It got very heated because they are in their 20s, born literally the year 2000. They see the world a bit differently to a lot of people, and they say, yeah, but when there's a divorce, a woman gets this. When there's a divorce, the woman gets the children. That's privilege. And I'm like, how is the tiresome stuff privilege? Right? Because even if you look at all the trending divorce cases that happened late last year that dragged into early this year, where she's being impossible, she wants too much money, she wants this, she didn't work for it, but people forgetting that she had to sacrifice her whole entire life to be a wife. Our place in society is always having to do the tiresome work, the tiresome tasks. You talk about women being the brains behind the wars and stuff, and taking care, or others were even nurses, taking care of the wounded soldiers. But it's always the tiresome tasks. Can't we then share them and divide them? Because it's easy for people to say women are privileged in the sense of they can keep the kids and get a lot of money in divorce, but forgetting that there is already inequality in everything else, because she doesn't want, maybe she really doesn't want to even take care of the kids. Okay, but the courts and the structures again and the foundations are like, the woman is the nature, let her take care of the kids. How about if the woman wants to let the husband take the kids and she lives her best life? So I think it's just those type of treatments where the inequality is I don't know how to put it. It's not subconscious really, but it's there, but it's such a thin line, and I feel like society don't want to actually see it as injustice.
Okay, so wow, jeez, I hope y'all have fixed the doors already. But so when you say tiresome stuff, right,
yes,
is that not subjective? I mean, it's tiresome to who? To all women, or it's your idea of what tiresome is? And that's the first question. And I tend to want to make some of my points by just asking questions, because then I need to understand what you're thinking. So tiresome, why do you say tiresome, right? Is it tiring for all women to raise kids? Some women love raising kids. Some women can't spend a day away from their kids after birth.
Yes.
Right? And are you speaking for those women? Maybe not.
I'm speaking.
Right?
I'm speaking for all women. I'm speaking for all women in the sense of, you do love to do your tasks, but it doesn't mean you love it every day. You get what I'm trying to say? It's tiresome in the sense of, we bear the kids. We take care of the kids. We breastfeed the kids. We have the sleepless nights. Yes, the husband will be, but I make and bring the bread in the house. How about if we then say, okay, I've given birth, you stay home, you take care of the kid, I go to work. then I will leave milk in the house and you will take care of the child. Then it's going to be seen as, oh, it's not normal to society. How can a husband stay at home and take care of his child while the woman is going to work? It is tiresome. And when I say I speak to, okay, maybe, let me not say all women, but let me say some women, majority of women. I'm a woman who speaks for other women in the sense of my circle is full of women. I'm a mother myself. I have an 11-year-old who's about to turn 12. Okay.
Oh, nice. Nice. Almost a teen. Almost a teen.
Almost there, you know? And the reason I say it's tiresome is because there's just so much work into raising children. There's so much work into holding, having a household or holding a household, whereas the tasks should be equal. You can find a man who would, it goes back to what I say, treatment in marriages and relationships. You'll jump back. You said, is it for me only or am I speaking to for all women? And I'm going to generalize it to all women because I work with different type of women in an engineering field, actually. And
oh, nice.
Most of them, or let me say 90% of women in corporate, or 90% of women that I know or grew up with in the neighborhood or in society are going through the same thing where we work, right? We go to work, we bring the cheese and the butter, we raise children. We take care of our household. We take care of our partners and our husbands. Whereas a man's duty just relies on one thing, making the bag. He doesn't come back and think, oh my God, the house needs to be swept. The dishes need to be washed. The children need a wash. The children need to go this place and that place and that place. Majority of the tasks, which are tiresome, are then only left for the woman to do. Yet then they have to drag themselves again in the morning, look pretty, smile, and they have to go to work. As they are also putting as much effort as their husbands, as much effort as their boyfriends. But our tasks will always become more. They are tiresome. Because even a single dad out there, he would leave his children maybe with his mom or his sisters or whatever. But a single mom who is raising a child by herself, or society is going to be like, oh, she's abandoning the child, or she just thinks about work. What about the child? Can you see then there's those double standards? It's those thin double standards that it is tiresome work. It is how we are seen in society. It is how we are treated. I'm not saying maybe when I said why are women victims, I actually saw the use of using victims in the sense of everything that we seem to do, we end up getting out of it bitten or hung or strangled, or everything is just too much. Hence the word victims.
Yeah. Cool. So, okay. I can understand why it was heated in that house last week. So I've got a question here.
Yes.
So how do we become equal in giving birth? That's one question, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think, and I'm not being funny here, right? I just don't think men and women can be 100% equal. I just don't think it's possible, right? And biologically, that's my point of reference. Yes, we are in a new age, right? We are in a new age of different styles of dating and marriage, right? Only quite recently, men help out in the house. Men wash dishes, and I don't speak for all men, right? I speak for the few who understand that for your partner to be happy and for you to have a great partner, foreplay includes ensuring that your partner does not have a lot of things to do when she gets back from work or from wherever. So that entails fetching the child from school, ensuring that the house is clean, the kitchen is not filled with pots. That's the new age of dating, right? And I think that's a more sophisticated, nice way of dating. Unfortunately, back in the day, that's not how it was.
Even now, I think it's new age to a few couples. It's not new age to every couple or every marriage. You'll be very surprised.
And And that becomes, and I don't think that becomes a question of equality and not. I think it just becomes a question of ignorance from the men's point of view, because you as a man, because I don't think it took like these men who wash pots and help out in the kitchen. I don't think it took them understanding the feminism movement. I think it just took them understanding that for your wife to be happy and for you to have a wife who will have sex with you. I'm sorry to say this, but for you to have a wife who might be ready to, be intimate with you, you would ultimately need to ensure that you help her out with the chores, right? If you don't want to do it, then you hire a maid, right? Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. I mean, I don't think it took feminism. It just took understanding your partner,
common
right?
sense.
So, yeah, ultimately. So I don't think to come back and make a comparison of men doing these things now and why they don't do it more and why they didn't do it in the past is a good sort of reference point. And the reason I say that is just, again, I don't do it because I'm pro-feminist, feminism. I just do it because I love my partner ultimately, right? The first question is, how can we be equal in giving birth? That we can't be equal, right? I think you are born women, men, you can't change that, right? I think if we want to change who gives birth or not, it's kind of pre-birth, right? So I don't think that's even a point of comparison, right? It's kind of those statements where you say it is what it is in that instance. But in terms of growing your child, then 100%, the man needs to be more involved. And again, I don't think it's a feminist movement, right?
Yes.
It's just common sense. You as a man, as a father, need.
Sorry to cut you there when you said men can never birth children. Yes, biologically that would never happen. But all I'm trying to say is they need to step in and put in the work. Okay, they need to put in the work as women then become that, because when men stop putting in the work, we then, have to do most of it, and we the ones who take the maternity leave, and that also hinders in our work. That also hinders in our positions in companies. Instead of saying, let's alternate, no, the husband just wants to go to work. Not thinking of, okay, maybe stay 2 months and I'll do the last month. Why? And for me, that's what I'm trying to say. In trying to, you might not birth children, but you can learn how to nurture one. You can learn how to raise one, so that your wife can go back and pick up the pieces at work. Because the problem is that in corporate society, we are given maternity leave. Trust me, by the time you go back to work, your position, your work, your tasks have been given to other people. Now you're coming back and trying to scratch through, and they're like, oh yeah, no, she was from maternity leave. Now you seem fragile and broken. Why? Because men in corporate also treat us that way, because they are the same men that also left their wives at home to nurture their kids and to take care of the home. So when I say men also have to take in or be part of raising children from birth, when the child is born, the wife did the 9 months, the wife did the hours of pushing, then now she might do breastfeeding there and there, but maybe men also need to stay home and be on, what is it called now? There is this...
is it paternity something?
Yes, leave, right? And then the wife can also go and go pick up the pieces in her corporate work and catch up with her work, so that she doesn't lose her, her position. A lot of women are not hired in corporate companies because we give birth. A lot of women are seen as a liability than an asset in a company, because we are going to fall pregnant. We are literally going to fall pregnant. Therefore, they cannot even bet on us or invest on us. Because if we fall pregnant, 9 months, we're gone, then another 3 months, whatever, because other people take a year. They're like, no, I really want to raise my child, because they know, because the husband is not going to be like, oh no, I'm going to knock off a bit early to come help you during the day. No. So that's what I'm saying, is that if you're saying we can never be equal, fine. I mean, if that's the case, but can we at least get to a point whereby we are seen, for us to be able to push also our own goals and ambitions? We can't do them without the help of men in our lives,
No,
right?
100%. 100%. Men need to be involved more. I think that's my view, right? They need to be involved more. And I come from a family where, I was raised by my mom
Yes.
and my mom only, right? So I understand that men need to be a lot more involved. 100%. I will never, ever dispute that. Right. My question now, though, to you, and I think it's a point of conversation.
Yes.
How would you then feel to have a husband who is a stay-at-home dad, right? So you mentioned the fact that women are expected to stay home and not work. Let's say now you are a CEO, for example,
Yes.
right? And you've got this husband who is a great guy. He helps around in the house. He actually wants to stay home and not work and look after the house and the family, right? How much respect and love would you have for that husband?
A lot of respect, because that means he's my support. He's my pillar. He's doing things that I cannot do. I don't have the time. I'm a CEO of a company. I have to come back home. I won't be able to do as much as he would have done. It's easy to love somebody who's willing to show you that they are there. It's easy to love somebody who is present and supportive. There's a difference between, I like the fact you said that ohlala ekhaya, but helping out. Then perfect. The only reason that maybe a lot of women, I believe, would be like, no, I don't want this. It's when you have those men who stay home and play PlayStation and eat food and open the fridge. You get home, there's no meal cooked. You get home, the shoes are on the corner, the floor, the socks, there is bottles everywhere. Then there's a problem. But a supportive husband who understands that I am supporting my wife to be the best CEO she can ever be, to ever be, maybe even on Forbes magazine, fine. But he's being supportive. He's there. He's an anchor. He's holding us together, yes, but not a husband who's a liability.
That's pretty odd, right? And the reason why I say odd, right, it's because I understand that women normally want to date or marry higher than their current standard, right? Is it called hypergamous, right? They date and marry across and high, right? Not entirely below. So a CEO would probably not date a man who is not working, or a man who seems to not have vision, or a man who's not bringing much to the table, right? A female CEO rather would not do that because women in high positions tend to want men who are high value men.
But where are
right?
the states?
So,
where are the states that say that?
I think
women are in search for love. Women are in search for a partner. And the reason I say that is, over the years, like, I think I started working at 17 and I've been working for a very long time. And I feel like over the years, I've met different type of women, and women in positions, women who are CFOs, women who are in the engineering field. A woman who's a grade 9 is somebody who takes almost close to 2 million a year, right? And most of them, their biggest issues is that, yes, they are looking for guys. They end up dating younger guys who don't even have much, because their peers might be married, one, or their peers they assume exactly what you're saying. That's what they're looking for. She just wants me for my status. But I feel like women are in search for love, or for the fairy tale. Let me put it that way. Women are in search for that fairy tale love, that hugs and kisses and all this mushy stuff that happens in relationships, more than more than oh, he must have X amount in his bank, or he must have this and this. We want somebody who can support, yes, but we're not saying match my salary. We're not saying bring more bag, because I feel like when men sit alone, the conversations that they have are wrong. I'm sorry to say that, but when women sit together, they talk about the real issues that they have. Women, there's so many women I know personally that have taken care of men, that have taken men to school, that have literally been by their men's side to be the best that it could be. Where are those men now? When they stood up, they left for something younger and fresh.
Yes. So in that episode 2 podcast, men and women age different. I mean, the whole mental system works differently. Men I think only at age 30, 35, that's when a man is considered to be high value.
Yes.
They then leave and look for someone younger. That's how it works, right? And a lady, on the other hand, right? And that's why I was kind of trying to get into. They hardly want to go for someone below their standards because of this respect element and trying to grow someone who might potentially not even be interested in you, but just waste your time. So, and what do they bring except the kisses and the fairy tales?
Yes.
What do they bring? I mean, beyond that, we must sit down together as, in our trying times as a couple, and I must be actually contributing something major, right? What else am I contributing?
But does it have to be major? You have to contribute something. I don't believe that it has to be major.
Okay.
It has to be something. Somebody has to contribute something. Like, I think I'll speak to most of my listeners that I have gotten to speak with. And I think we all we have all had that experience of a lot of women out there take care of their man, Brian. A lot of women out there do whatever it takes to make sure their man gets where they have to go. But once that man is at his peak, he forgets his day one. He's chasing for the younger ones. Then when you come back, you're like, oh, but women are this and that. Hence, I'm saying the conversations that men have amongst each other are wrong. Because no man will be honest enough to say, there's a woman that made me. No man out there in the streets can literally say, I am who I am because of that woman you see there. Because I feel like it's conversations where they're like, yo, I'm fair too. How is this even possible? Oh, then they're going to give him names. So what is he going to do? He's going to lie. And then he's going to act out as if he did it by himself. But I'm telling you today, there are men out there sitting in those positions where a woman made that possible. But he will never admit that this woman took me through to school. This woman did this. Women out there are working. A lot of broken women listeners who are on this podcast have done a lot in their relationships.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of we cannot assume women are after money. Yes, there are women who do that. And we all know those type of women. I believe you can see the type of woman. You don't even have to look hard. You can see by looking at them. Period. Period. It's very evident. Then you're going to see Utalo in Tombi, right. You know? And you then be like, not all women want money. I don't believe that. We want stability. We want a partner. We want love. We want a house. Because remember, a lot of women have this thing of they see marriage as this big achievement. Some women. Now, I'm not going to speak to all women because I'm that 1% that does not believe marriage is an achievement. But some women, but I don't think it's a matter of, you must have millions for me to love this man. No. It's a matter of meeting each other halfway. It's your birthday. Let me show up. You know, it's my birthday. Let him show up. It's the little things. Not every woman is chasing for a Ferrari, guys. The woman chasing for a Ferrari is the one that men are leaving their real day ones and going for that Ferrari girl. Because you can see them.
Then and I joke. And I think you might be right in when you say we men are not having correct conversations in line with empowering women.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can fully agree with that. I can fully agree with that. When I say I joke, I was about to say, then why aren't more women becoming like the one who's chasing the Ferrari, right? Because that's the one that clearly all men want. You know, get that front, secure the front seat, girl. Look, I think you make extremely valid points, and I think for me, your points are, again, it's just my view. They are in line with the new age of gender roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, and it might still happen today, but again, it comes back to our first point, foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
In some households where there were strict fathers and strict, mostly the fathers were strict, right? Where there were strict fathers, you'll see those men tend to become strict, and you can't change them, you can't convince them otherwise. Those are the ones who will tell you, sit here, don't go to work, right? And then you'll get men like me who were raised by women. So I've got a softer side to me. I understand how hectic it is to be a single parent and do as much as you can, right? So you need to be helped, right? There are a huge amount of men out there who are just like that. And those are the types who will help here and there. And then there are men who are just scammers, right? They scam women, right? They target the ones who are vulnerable, you know, young men who go for old women, realizing that all they need is love. And a older woman, I mean, looks at this man and goes, listen, I need to nurture this guy. Let me love him. He loves me. And then the lady takes him to school, does everything for him, and then he leaves. Those are the scam, like those are the con artists, right? It's a reality. It's a reality. But I think a lot of the points that you're saying, for me, right, those are more new age. And I just think we need to create more men like that. I don't even think it's especially the dating, right? The dating part. I mean, I keep saying it's common sense, and I understand where you come from when you say it's deeper than common sense. But it's all about making men from this foundation that we talk about turn their heads and realize that, guys, it's deeper than being stern. You need to have a happy lady. What do you need to do? Right? These are the things that you need to do. Cleaning the house, washing the plates does not make you less of a man. Right? It doesn't. Especially in the new age where women are now working in construction. You know, also in the beginning, most women were working as receptionists, right? For companies that closed at 3 p.m. So a lady would still arrive home before everyone else, and she would clean and do all these things.
Cook,
But now, Nita, you are breaking barriers. You are now in engineering. That I know for a fact that sometimes you're probably on site 24 hours, right? Meaning you can't have time to actually do your womanly duties. It doesn't make your partner, not saying you do, not saying you don't. I don't know if your listeners know more, right? But you can't now do what you normally could do as a woman if you didn't have a job, right? You now need a partner who now you're saying who supports you, right? But I still don't think he should be supporting you not working, because at some point, men who are just sitting there, whether they're supporting you or not, if they not increasing their value, he becomes annoying, right? I think it's just reality.
I just feel like
He becomes
men have bruised egos.
They
It's
do.
just it's
We
because
do.
if a woman stays at home and does nothing, her ego is not bruised. She knows what she's putting on the table by being at home. If a man can do the same thing that a woman does who stays at home and stop having their egos being bruised, they would be literally. And I think it now. And I like bringing up this because it's driving us into the next topic, which is gender-based violence. Because bruised egos are the issue. Like, it's the biggest issue. If men could literally control their emotions per se, or how they feel, because I feel like at one point that man who's staying at home and doing the work that he's supposed to do, when he hangs around with his friends, now he seems like, oh, I'm just a simp. I think that's what Amma 2000 called it, right? You're a simp. I'm just a simp. Your woman is walking all over you. What happens? The ego is bruised. Instead of actually realizing that, no, but my house is just perfectly fine. Because that's how we are as women. When we're sitting amongst other women and the woman goes, why are you letting him do this? And then she'll be like, no. Me and my husband are fine. Don't you worry about us. But men can't do that. Men can't draw the line from what other men say. They take it personally. Then that ego is bruised and then they become violent. Oh, who do you think you are? Because if I don't know if you've ever experienced or ever seen a friend or, grew up in an environment where a woman is being abused. Half the time, if you listen to these angry men, it's just a bruised ego, because they would continuously say, who do you think you are? As if you are saying, I'm competing with you.
So I hear you, fully agree with you there, right? I think, again, it comes back to, and it's something that I've had to be conscious of within my circle, right? How we speak of women. I guess it's the first thing, right? Because along with GBV is the rape culture and right? How we speak of women, right? I think for me, as men, yes. That's the thing. And men might come here and comment and say, hi, it's not true. The 20% of your listeners who are male might say, hi, it's not true. I'm saying out here, guys, we speak, whether we realize it or not, we speak like we objectify women, right? And it's not right, right? And then it comes back to how men have been treated. And now, I mean, from being young to being the pastor, right, in church, men are treated as respect mongers, or respect sponges. You have to respect them. Yes. You can't question a man, and that's why, for example, my mom will never ever question my uncle. Not my father, my uncle, right? Because my uncle is respectable. There's an episode of yours, a podcast of yours, speaking to I Own My Body.
Yes.
Because your uncle is this respectable man, he's married, he's seen as a hero. Apparently he's not capable of doing what you say he did to you.
Yeah. It's impossible. Right?
Exactly. And I think it's just that foundation and the level of respect, undeserved respect that men are given, right, is what causes these bruised egos, right? Hence, if I'm just sitting here and my wife stands up and raises her voice and says, why don't you do the dishes? I'm going to say, you don't talk to me like that. Because she's angry. She's angry and she has every right to be angry, right? Because I'm not helping her out. She has every right to raise her voice. Yes, she shouldn't raise her voice because I'm human. Like, no need. We can just speak properly.
Yes.
But because now I'm a man, and the moment you raise your voice, I feel like, you are not respecting me or seeing me based on how I've been raised. I'm going to come to you and say, stop talking to me. And you'll feel provoked. You'll feel like you need to defend yourself. I mean, in your case, you ran away from your uncle.
Yes.
What could you have done if you didn't run away? Right? In this case, she can't run away, so she'll face me. What will she do? She'll probably like slap my chest. What do? I slap her face, right? And then she goes and hits the fridge, right? And I'm just looking at it play out in my own living room. So I'm just referencing the fridge. It could be a wall.
Yeah.
But I've got so much power than her. I would hurt her, right? But just because I'm defensive and I'm bruised by the fact that you are talking to me like I'm not a man. You know, men view themselves as gods, and that's why you're saying, talk to me like a man, you know, type of thing, right? And that's wrong. That's extremely wrong, right? Gender-based violence is absolutely nothing but entitled men not having their way, feeling like they need to impose their power, and they impose their power extremely wrongly, right? Extremely wrong.
I wanted to ask a question while you're still on that. I like what you're saying, right? Like you are against it. I want to ask a question. If a friend of yours was beating his girlfriend, would you address your friend or you'd keep quiet? Would you say the same things you are saying right now to your friend? Do you stop becoming your friend's friend? Do you block your friend and say, dude, nope, I'm not vibing with you no more. You're an abuser.
Cool.
Will you be confident enough? Because I feel like the reason why such behaviors continue is because no one is calling each other out. No man is calling another man out. Would say, dude, your behavior, no, pathetic, disgusting, Look. Stop it. So I'm asking you now, as Anita, Brian, would you tell your friend that we can no longer be friends? You're an abuser. You need to stop what you're doing. It's disgusting. Would you have the courage to do that in your circle of friends?
So the answer is yes. And I think to your statement of no man is calling another man out, I think there are a lot of instances where guys are calling each other out, right? But again, it just comes back to, after calling each other out, what are we talking about, right? So I can call you out now and say that your behavior is wrong. And then five minutes later, I'm saying, yo, check that chick out, for example, right? And I'm not saying that's what I do. I'm saying men call each other out, but it just comes back to, what do they talk about thereafter?
Cool.
In my case, yes, exactly, right. So in my case, right, I love my friends, my guy friends. I love them enough to not say I'm blocking you, but rather let me help you, right? Absolutely no point in me saying, no, I'm blocking you because I don't vibe with you. You are doing wrong. Screw it. No, I need to make you understand why I'm saying what you're doing is wrong. You know, a friend of mine once said to me, I was so angry, I slapped her. I was like, no, man. I don't think that's right. And he immediately felt bad, right? He immediately felt bad. What did we talk about thereafter? I said to him, bro, if you can't handle her, I don't think you should be with her, right? I don't think you should be with her. I think you should let her be. Then you guys can avoid these things, because, I mean, it's just absolutely wrong. You will probably end up in prison, and I want you around. So do yourself a favor, do her a favor, and move on, right? And he's since actually found new love. He has a baby with this lady now, and he stopped that behavior. Well, for at least to my knowledge,
yes,
right? And I've got these groups with guys who speak about football. There were instances where we're talking about women, and this guy's saying, listen, guys, I want a fresh young chick. I'm like, Listen, man, I think it's fine to want like a young lady.
Mhm,
But I think we need to be mindful of, and it starts within our group of 20 people. We need
mhm.
to be mindful of how we refer to women, right? So I'm comfortable to have conversations, and I think because I'm such an introvert and I don't care much about being in groups and cliques,
Yes.
I'm happy to talk to my friends around these things. If they choose they don't want to be friends with me, look, I can't force them to be, so I don't care. But as long as if I've contributed to changing mentalities, right? So I'm comfortable to have these conversations.
Yeah. That's really great. I feel like yeah, we pushed. I can't believe we pushed an hour. I guess it's a never ending. I feel like this will always be never ending conversation. But with one
Yeah.
last question that I have for you, okay, maybe second last. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
I just want to hear your view on, do you think that the future generation will be having different conversations than the ones we're having today? Because I mean, right now you have a podcast, I've got a podcast. This is a library of information that future generations will get to hear. And do you think these types of topics will not be, will not exist in the future, since that now we are the new generation? We are the new people who can voice out our opinions, our needs, and what we want. Do you believe our children's children will never have to speak about this?
So I'm
Just
very
in general.
concerned. Right? I'm extremely concerned by this 2000 group, right?
Mm-hmm,
I think they've lost all value. Oh, the guys
mm-hmm,
don't value the women. And it's just certain instances that I pick up, right? They speak to, I mean, they refer to girls as Hans and all these things, right? And I mean, if you sit with a 2000 boy,
mm-hmm,
he will shock you in terms of how he views women. They
mm-hmm.
live by 21 Savages and Young Thugs view of
Of
women. I
women.
think they live the reality of Birdman and Lil Wayne, where everything is about the P word and the F
Mm-hmm,
word, right? It's I'm very concerned. I'm
mm,
thinking that the 2000 era is probably going to worsen the rape culture. I think because we are the bridge between the old and the current, we need to ensure that we change the narrative, right? I
mm,
think it starts with us, and to some fear, it ends with us. But let's ensure that it doesn't end with us.
mm, 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 mm. I
Yeah.
hear you. I hear you. So, last question as we wrap up. Do you have any other last words before we end this episode that you'd like to share with my listeners?
I love women. That sounds wrong, but I love women. I was raised by my mom, my sister, and I am forever grateful for that. Right? I think I understand the importance of the lady, the women. I understand that, and I mean, there's a part where you said, "Let's change women from victims and take them to victorious." I
Yes.
would love that. I think women in power, women being victorious, can create such an amazing path for future generations. Men are inherent, like look, men are selfish, right? So men in power will not create more wealth for every other person. Women in power will strategically ensure that people get more much called platforms to voice, I mean, to have a voice. I think women have a lot to offer in terms of strategic movement than men. But yeah, that's very an unpopular opinion, but
Yeah.
that's just what I think. Yeah, women are not selfish; they
Mm-hmm.
want to help out. Men are selfish, and I think let's give women more power.
The
Let's give
future
them more
is
power.
female.
Listen, life started with female.
Yes.
The future should be female.
Definitely. Thank you again for collaborating with me, and hoping we will do many more other episodes in the future. So thank you so
Thank you.
much. And yeah, hope we will have another episode, and I hope my listeners will catch your podcast. Where can my listeners find your podcast? What's your podcast called? Where can they find your podcast? Can they find you on Instagram? Can they find you on Twitter? Give my listeners the information so they can support you.
Yes. Look, I am on Instagram. It's Brian_Koena, pronounced Kwena. And in my bio there's a link that will take you to either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podcast Addict. Right. Please check me out. I'm also looking into getting into some video content. So I'll be sharing I'll be sharing my YouTube link soon. So please look out for that. But right now, please do follow me on Instagram. I'll follow back, and then we'll share some great conversations and knowledge points there.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a very great conversation.
We heard it from Brian. The future is female. I guess the conversations will continue for years to come. Why are women victims? Are we victims? Why are we always victimized? Are there underlying issues to why we'll never be seen as equals? So I think this is an open conversation that will go on and on. We all don't have the right answers, and we'll never have the right answers. So I want to leave you with this quote. Of course, I'm not worried about intimidating men. The type of men who will be intimidated by me is exactly the type of men I have no interest in. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Follow me on Instagram and subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcast. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. Until the next episode, remember, everything in life comes with divine order, divine timing, and divine presence. Dear you, you're going to be just fine. I thank you.
The Unspoken Truth is the catalyst for important and thought-provoking conversations that need to be had. The network tackles social ills, spiritual healing, soul searching, and mental health awareness. To subscribe, click on the show link to follow our podcast and be part of the Unspoken Truth family. Find us on all social media platforms.